The Cowboys season might feel over at 3-6, and it might just be, but on Monday Night Football, they might pull away with the upset versus the Houston Texans, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. What is up, everyone, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. I'm Mauricio Rodriguez, and I'm going to jump straight into the information today because I know what you're thinking. There is no way in hell the Cowboys host the Texans and beat CJ Stroud, Nico Collins, DeMeco Ryans, Daniel Hunter, and friends. And you know what? I understand that feeling. In fact, disclaimer, I am not picking the Cowboys to win in Week 11. However, this is quite different from last week's game, in my opinion, and the game 2 weeks before that at Atlanta, or 3 weeks before that at Santa Clara. I think this is a game that provides you with an opportunity to come away with the upset. A lot of people are going to be picking the Texans. I don't blame them. I'm going to pick them myself, spoiler alert. But I think there are three reasons why they could shock the NFL world. And I'll start with number one, and that is you can pressure CJ Stroud, right? And that is very different from what we've seen lately for the Cowboys opponents, and it coincides with the fact that Micah Parsons is back like he never left. He had 5 pressures versus the Philadelphia Eagles, and just for context, the Cowboys went week 6, 8, and 9 with no player logging 4 pressures or more in that 3-week span. Chauncey Golston did have 5 pressures in week 5 versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had 5 pressures again with Micah on the field, but the Cowboys, they had nobody to step up and replace Micah Parsons in that department. Now they've got it. Now, CJ Stroud is the 6th most pressured quarterback in the entire NFL, percentage-wise, and I think the Cowboys could make him pay for it. The offensive line issues for the Texans have been very, very consistent, and they've had problems even at the tackle spots. And just for context, they've got Laramie Tunsil. Now, Tunsil, for the most part, has been a pretty good pass protector for the Texans. But there's been instances in this season, including a couple of weeks ago, when he was giving up 4 pressures. He's given up sacks for the Texans. So I think the Cowboys are going to have an opportunity to really get to CJ Stroud. And more on this later, it's not like they can really escape it because their offense really depends on dropping back and throwing the football. Now, the Texans are still scary. They've got Nico Collins back this week, apparently, and he is obviously a game changer for the Texans. Was trending towards playing last Sunday night, apparently ended up not doing so, but he should be back for their trip to Dallas. And the Cowboys, honestly, are going to be facing a very talented group of wide receivers, including Tank Dell. There's Dalton Schultz. It's going to be his revenge game, by the way. So looking forward to that, I guess. And the Cowboys have had some issues in coverage, starting by the fact that there's a hole in that lineup at Kalen Carson, who has been picked on by opposing quarterbacks. But you might get to CJ Stroud, and you know what that means. That is an opportunity for one of your best players, easily your best defensive player, to take over the game. Now, of course, it's not only Micah. Golston, as I said, has had some good moments. DeMarvion Overshown has been used as a blitzer by Mike Zimmer, very opportunistically at times. So hopefully with Micah back, we're still seeing those promising developments there with number 13 in the pass rush department. So stay tuned for that. Now, number 2, and this is the biggest one, in my opinion. The Texans cannot close out these games. They've won 6 games so far this season, and only one of those has been a not one possession game, and that is when they beat the New England Patriots 41-21. Other than that, even against, I'm going to say it, mediocre opponents like the Indianapolis Colts, they've been winning by 1 possession. 29-27 versus the Colts, 19-13 versus the Bears, 24-20 versus the Jaguars, 23-20 versus Buffalo, and then most recently another close game versus the Indianapolis Colts, who, by the way, had already moved on to Joe Flacco, if I'm not mistaken, by then. So this is a team I might be wrong about that. It might have been the game when it happened, actually. I think it was. But when Anthony Richardson asked to be pulled out, by the way, he's back as a starter for the Colts. But the Texans cannot close out these games. It's always close. And I'm going to tell you the biggest reason why that is. They're 29th in EPA when rushing the football, and they're 31st in success rate when rushing the football. They cannot run. And when you're up and when you want to put your opponent to bed, you know what you've got to do? You've got to run the rock. They do it worse than the Cowboys. They're not a good running team. They're terrible. Last weekend, when they lost to the Detroit Lions, despite intercepting Jared Goff 5 times, that was because Joe Mixon averaged 2 yards per attempt. And he was the only guy they were handing the ball off to, if we're being real. So the Texans are going to give you an opportunity to stay in the game, and it's going to be up to the Cowboys to really take advantage of that. At least that's what's happened for the most part. There is that 41-21 game that they had versus the Patriots, and the Cowboys have been on that end of things lately, so it might end up being the case. But for the most part, the Texans are not able to close out games. If the Cowboys can really exploit their weaknesses running the football, they should have a chance in the second half to turn the table on the Houston Texans. So something to look out for. And then before I get to number 3, I do want to get a vibe of how you're feeling. So I want you to let me know in the comments, are you calling or are you folding on the Cowboys' chances to pull this upset alert off? Now, while you let me know, I want to tell you what I am really calling. And I am calling Texas Card House on their promise to be the premier poker experience for any poker aficionado. Because remember, at Texas Card House, you can get the perfect blend of luxury, sophistication, and camaraderie for any poker aficionados. That goes for those who are seasoned pros, those who are just starting out, and you can check them out yourselves in any of their 6 Texas locations. But if you go to the Las Colinas location or the Dallas location, make sure you mention A to Z Sports, because just by mentioning A to Z Sports, you're going to get a free month of membership at Texas Card House and 2 free hours to play poker. You got to do it. Texas Card House, again, man, if you are looking for the right community, you find it at Texas Card House to play some cards. Who doesn't love to play cards with the right group of people? And again, if you mention A to Z Sports or you use promo code AZSports on their website, you're going to get a free month of membership and 2 free hours to play poker. That goes for the Las Colinas and Dallas venues, so make sure you go check them out. Texas Card House, I am calling on them to deliver on that promise. Now, number 3 reason why the Cowboys can beat the Texans on Monday Night Football: this team will shoot themselves on the foot consistently. I know a lot of people are thinking that I'm talking about the Cowboys, but I'm not. I'm talking about the Texans. Reached out to Justin Churchill, one of the experts of the Texans over at ATZsports.com, and I asked them, what the heck's up with this team? 1, why are they 6-4? Why did they lose to the Lions despite having 5 takeaways? And why are they struggling? I mean, we saw them as one of the top AFC contenders in the league coming into this year. His answer was pretty simple. They don't know how to win. That's what he told me. And you look at the numbers, I took a deep dive. I think Justin Churchill is absolutely right. The Texans are the 3rd most penalized team in the NFL in yardage. They're the 4th most in overall calls against them. You take out the average, it's almost as high as the Cowboys. They're at 7.2 penalties per game. The Cowboys are at 7.4, but the Texans are being penalized 60.4 yards per game, while the Cowboys are at 54. So this is a team that will shoot itself on the foot consistently week in and week out. Again, it's a dangerous team as well because of CJ Stroud. They've got wide receivers, they've got weapons, and we'll talk about this tomorrow, but their defense is quite scary. That is the matchup that really goes against the Cowboys in my view. But if this team is messing up at AT&T Stadium, the Cowboys might just drag it out and they might find themselves in the game despite what many people think. They're 7.5 points underdogs, and I got to tell you, so far, I'm leaning towards the home underdog on this one, especially at a low buy low spot excuse me. But it's going to be a closer game than many think, I think. And that doesn't mean I'm picking the Cowboys, though, to win. But I'm here to say there are reasons to believe the Cowboys might just pull off the upset. And I know a lot of people are in tanking mode, but it would be fun. It would absolutely be fun to see the Cowboys steal one. So there you have it. Hit the like button for me if you enjoyed the show. And I'll see you tomorrow night live at 8 p.m.-ish Central, because it's a big Thursday night football, and we'll find the perfect spot to go live. Bye-bye.